alternative manga revolution. Pitchforks will be passed out, storming castles. No, thanks for coming. My name is Lee Walton. I'm the marketing director for Top Shelf Productions, publisher of comics and graphic novels since 1997. With me here is, I'll introduce you guys and you can speak a little more about yourselves. This is Sean Michael Wilson on the left here. He is a Scotsman living in Japan and is the editor of our Top Shelf's new collection of alternative manga called Axe, a collection of alternative manga. And then in between us here is Ryan Holmberg, who is a manga scholar who recently curated an exhibit of the early years of Garo magazine. He also contributed to our book. He wrote all of the artist biographies that appear in the back of the volume. So if you have the book, you'll be reading the work of both of these gentlemen here.
So, hello everybody. Yes, I'm Sean Michael Wilson from Scotland, but I live in Japan. Actually, I'm a comic book writer. I work for Kodansha. I'm the only British person who works for Kodansha, I think. Unless anybody knows anybody else? No? I don't mind being number 2, number 3. But anyway, apparently I'm the only one. And, but I have a good relationship with the editor, the Japanese editor of Axe. And that's been coming out since 1998, so 12 years now. And Axe is the primary, or possibly the only, alternative manga anthology which is published in Japan. Hello, Dad. And so him and I decided that we tried to bring it out Axe in English. And so that was 2 years ago. And I started talking to some various people in the New York Comic Convention. And now yesterday, here it is. So, hey! It's a beautiful little book, so please pick it up later if you can. And I thought that we're not selling it here, but if you go down to the top shelf booth, what's the number, Lee?
1721.
1721. Wasn't that when Napoleon was born? So yeah, 1721, you can get it there, and I'll sign it for you, etc., etc. Anyway, so what we want to talk about today is not so much Axe, but the actual background to mature manga. Could you go to the next slide, please, Lee? Oh, actually, these are me showing off even more. This is my first Kodansha book here, Hagakure, which is a samurai book, as you can see. And then I wrote this one for NBM. That one's coming out in December. The Kodansha one's coming out next month. Sorry, yeah, please go to the next one. So, the thing about Axe, the actual anthology, and the English version that we have now, is it's the kind of modern day version of a certain type of manga which started in the mid-50s. And maybe most of you have heard of Garo. Well, listen, can I have a show of hands and see who has heard of Garo in this room? Okay, so most people, 60%, right? But how many of you have heard of Axe? Okay, so how many of you have heard of Gekiga manga, right? Okay, and how many of you read the Tatsumi, Drifting Life biography? Okay, fantastic stuff, huh? So we can see a certain line of continuity between the 1950s manga, Garo starting in 1964. This is Garo from 1968. Who's this cover by again? Ryan, this is Shiranta, isn't it? Who's the cover by? Yeah, these beautiful painted covers that they had in the initial editions of Garo, which Ryan knows a lot about. He'll tell you more about it later. Can I go on to the next one, please? Now, the Gekiga mature manga style is only one of the strands which is in Axe. For instance, one of the other strands is this Hetaruma style. And this is from, I think this was in Raw in the early 80s. Not much has been translated so far, but Hetaruma is one other style of alternative manga which is also represented in Axe. What does it mean? Ryan, what does Hetaruma mean? I know, but let's get you involved.
style of manga making that officially came about around 1980, 78, 79 in gestation. Literally it means heta, which means bad, and uma means good. So it's intentionally crass subject matter and intentionally poorly done graphics. It kind of became the hallmark of Garo, especially in the late 70s. And in the X compilation, you also see a number of examples from that. It's preceded in the late 60s with a number of Garo artists trying to revive 1950s kashikon, rental bookstore manga like you see on the right, in their graphic style. They really liked kind of the rough, blocky quality of many of the drawings back then, before the manga industry really became a full-fledged industry and production also became highly industrialized. So for a long time it's been seen as kind of a trait of authenticity in manga making.
Very well said. Yeah, there's a few hentai examples in the X book, like Emoto here on page 180 or 61. So you can check that out. But what I want to talk about mostly is, in this case, the gekika, not manga, gekika. On the other side here, you can see the little G in the top right-hand corner. This is, for those of you who can read Japanese, you can see this is Yoshihara Tatsumi, or Tatsumi Yoshihara. And as I say, he's the guy that's mainly known for the mature Gekika style manga so far, but he wasn't the only one, of course. But this is the first use of that title, Gekika. And we shouldn't really say Gekika manga, because that's kind of like saying book in a way. It's the specific title which these guys came up with to try to describe the more mature style comic books they wanted to do, so they called it Gekika, not manga. So anyway, this is the first time that it was ever used in issue 12 of Machi, which means city in English, from 1958. And that is one of Tatsumi's early stories. So we can say that's the first use of the word Gekika as a mature style manga. Could you go to the next one, please? Now here's another one. I want to show you various visuals from that time. These are all very rare images. They've only been seen once before in America, no, twice. Once in the San Diego Festival and once in New York. So you're seeing these for the third time in North America, a lot of these things. So this is a Matadero skyscraper, and that was a very important Gekika anthology for that time. And you can see various of the Gekika guys there hanging out. That's Tatsumi in the back row in the hat, I think. The next one, please. And at that time, there was a little bit of a boom in the late 50s in Japan. And so you can see that some of the ones, well, this one is Gekika fan. And then the actual Gekika logo. You want the next one, please? Now, stepping back slightly, you can see Tezuka's New Treasure Island from 1946. And then 10 years later, Kage, which is another important anthology from that time. That means Shadow. A lot of these guys, in a way, it's a weird thing. We think of Tezuka as the father of manga in general, but in a way we could see him as the father of the alternative manga too, because these guys who developed this mature style were very influenced by him and wanted to take a step beyond what he was doing. And so, in a way, he inspired the step beyond his ideas into the more mature territory.
But just to give a little bit more context, on the left here is Osamu Tezuka, who's the creator of Astro Boy, and other series that we know in English is Kimba the White Lion, Phoenix, and various other things, Metropolis. And New Treasure Island here on the left is one of his very, very early works. So actually the time between really the Tezuka's invention of manga almost in a way,